skeptical of reviews on e-commerce platforms? Well, you're very right to think that some of them may be fake. Remember, a lot of people end up buying products, booking hotel rooms, making reservations at restaurants based on the number of stars or the rating that that product or service has. And all of this comes from the reviews online. The reviews online have become a crucial part of whether a business runs or doesn't run, whether a hotel room gets bookings or not, whether a restaurant gets reservations or not, and whether the reviews are good or not. Well, the fact is that many of these reviews are fake. They're paid for and they create a situation which does not truly exist. The center has now stepped in. India will become the first country in the world to have a set of guidelines to check fake reviews and unverified star ratings on e-commerce websites, hotels, and travel booking platforms. This comes into effect from the 25th of the month, and as of now, it's a voluntary set of standards which have to be implemented. The Department of Consumer Affairs is the one that is finalizing the framework after studying the current mechanism that is followed by e-commerce companies. They've also taken cues from best practices globally. And while this is voluntary at the moment, this could be made mandatory in the future as well. The question now is, how will it be implemented? And will this really help people find out whether a product is truly worth it or not? And speaking with us today is Jahangir Gai, consumer activist. I'm speaking with Sachin Taparia, founder of Local Circles. K. Ganesh, promoter of Big Basket and Portia Medical, is with us. And I'm also talking with Deven Parulekar, founder of Saffron Stays. So welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today on the show. Deven, let me start with you actually. Because you are the guys who have to implement all of these. Give me an honest idea on how many reviews, and I'm not talking just about your site, how many reviews out there, for example, for villas, Airbnbs, hotels, how many of them are fake?
So let's understand that in the pre-online world, most of us refer to our friends for any kind of recommendation for a hotel or for choosing a tuition teacher for your child, right? But in the online world, I think the singular currency for the online vendor is the reputation or the reviews that he or she has gathered for his product or service. And I think this realization that reviews and this online reputation, which is actually created by your customers or by your fraternity, is actually what really matters and actually influences the buying decisions of all our consumers. So anything that works in favor of the customer making the right choice is honestly, for a brand like ours, for an honest company like ours, is the go-to or the holy grail of the industry. So the way we also recognize that we stand to lose in a lot of times when we don't indulge in such practices. But I think the first thing that we did for ourselves as a company is said, let's map out our own North Star. And for us, that North Star honestly was the NPS score that we start requesting from our guests. And when we set that out, I must say that with a lot of pride that we sit at our NPS score of 73, which is actually more internal for us.
Lost me with North Star and NPS score. I'm asking how many reviews out there are fake. I'm not talking about your site. I'm not asking you to stick your neck out and say that, we're 100% real or some are fake. In the industry, how prevalent is this?
So it's widely prevalent. Okay, let's admit to ourselves that I think these kind of malpractices.
Thank you for being honest about it.
No, it is because you try and buy something from any of the e-marketplaces, and you will find that you often have to look at even things like, is it a verified purchaser or verified seller? There are all of these are trust building initiatives taken by the e-commerce places to actually build that trust in the mind of the customer. So let's, in some ways, while we are protecting all our customers and we are all for it, I think on the other side, the right balance, if you see globally, most of the top retailers, the top marketplaces will always work, over a period of time, move their needle in the direction of some of these North Stars that I just explained.
Okay. K. Ganesh, let me come to you on the reality. Of course, the fact that the government has cracked down, the Consumer Affairs Ministry has cracked down, is after a lot of consultation and I presume some research to find out how prevalent it is. But is this become the mainstay of retail facing e commerce businesses, where there is really no other way to find out if something is good or not?
Yeah, I think you should look at what is the genesis of this. If you look at traditional businesses, what we generally call as the pipeline businesses, the metrics in a typical pipeline business is the way, what efficiency through which the value flows through the pipeline. But nowadays, the new age business models have this, platforms have come up where the metrics and the focus is very different. What are the three main things in a platform? So really, we need to worry about liquidity in a platform, how many buyers, how many sellers are there large enough transaction taking place? Two, how are they matched? Is the matching quality of the platform good? If you went to a traditional shop, the shopkeeper will know you. He will go and take you directly to what you want to buy. Whereas here, you need a metric for matching quality. And the third most important thing that we're talking about, in addition to liquidity and matching quality, is really the trust. Now, the trust has to be done through reviews. There is no other choice. Like was mentioned, it could be a verified purchaser, verified seller who is giving the review, or it could be anybody. I think I am very bullish that as the numbers increase, when the numbers becomes large, the amount of manipulation, fixing of the reviews will come down drastically. When I see only 10 reviews in Airbnb site, obviously I know that it can be fixed. But when I look for reviews, if there are 200 reviews, to fix 200 reviews is difficult. So trust as an important metric, one of the top three metrics of new age platform, is the way to go in future. Government has got a responsibility, consumer protection, in order to ensure gullible consumers, first-time consumers, people who are not savvy, don't get carried away by reviews and fake reviews. It is very good that they are taking cognizance of it and putting in an ad. Implementation is completely a different story.
I'm wondering how easy it is going to be to implement. And it's
no, it is going to be very difficult. It's going to be difficult to implement. And again, on the flip side, to make the platform responsible for the correctness of the review, it becomes very tough. Individually, the seller who is there, who is benefiting from such fake review, has to take care. It's almost like when you see advertisement on the walls or the posters being put up across the city, when you see the product being advertised, the claim is wrong. Whoever is the product owner who is standing to benefit get pulled up. That should be the philosophy here too. That if a review is not
in a sphere where there's so many products and not all of them are from well-known, reputed brand, everyone has a platform, right? On e-commerce, and that's the beauty of it. Sachin, I want to come to you on this. So if I take the example, say, of restaurants, I want to try out a new restaurant. I know there are these standard top-rated restaurants that everyone knows about, which will ensure that I have a good menu, good food, good service, good experience. I want to try something new, and I'm going to bank on reviews. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Suppose I come across a number of fake reviews. I still go in for this restaurant. I've spent money there. I'm upset. I haven't bothered to do anything about it. It's still an open trap for the next consumer. And that's the problem, isn't it, Sachin?
No, it is very much Tamanna. In fact, I was part of the committee that designed these guidelines. And I was also the one, Local Circles was the platform that raised the entire issue of reviews and ratings. We've been raising since 2018. Most recent was in June this year. And there's really 4 issues that we started out with, which was all reported by consumers. And I think we have discussed them here. One is fake reviews. Second is biased reviews. Third is what you can call as suppression of negative reviews, which is also very common. And then you have, reviews which are basically created without the real identity or anonymous reviews. So these 4 were the key issues. And typically, what ends up happening is in the case of, so there is product purchases, there is purchase of services, and there is purchase of, let's say, apps in the case of App Store or Play Store. So these rules will apply across the board to all these three categories, right? And then you have the professionals like the doctors and different services that review of this document.
No, so who has to,
Now,
one minute, Sachin. So who has to implement it? Whose
so
responsibility
here
is
is
to
where it
implement
comes,
it?
right? So what happens is, the primary responsibility lies with the platforms. So let's say if you're looking at an e-commerce platform, right? So the e-commerce platform has got sellers and it has got consumers. Now let's say a platform has 100,000 sellers. Now the platform basically now has to ensure that they are providing the ability to review to individuals who have actually purchased the product in case of product reviews. The seller, of course, what is very common is that when a new product is listed by the seller tells their friends, family, others to give them a 5-star rating. And that's how Ganesh brought that point out, that the first 5, 10, 15 ratings is difficult to trust because they are organized, right? But as the number of ratings increase and as they are basis all these verified purchases, the law of large number works. So that is where the platform has to, what they have to do is ensure that they have certain declarations that they have actually taken from the seller. And they also are taking certain declarations from those who are reviewing. Like, I am reviewing this product and I do not have a conflict of interest, which is, it is not my own product, my family's product, or, a set of
But I'm
definitions.
frankly wondering over here, and Mr. Guy, let me come to you on this. First of all, people who are reviewing a product they have used are doing, in my view, a yeoman service. They're not getting paid for it. They're spending their time reviewing a product they may or may not use again. If I get a product and I don't like it, I can just move on with my life. I don't need to spend another 15, 20 minutes reviewing it for the next person to know. So how really are you going to get people to review and then fill out this declaration form? That seems a little difficult. Plus, the guidelines, to my understanding, say that websites have to mark which ones are paid reviews and which ones are sponsored, and they cannot publish paid reviews. So how really is this going to work in real terms seems a little unclear, isn't it?
It is absolutely unclear. In fact, when there is a paid review, the payer is the website owner or a company which is running it. It is like telling the culprit that you declare yourself to be a thief. So it's not really going to work. If there was going to be voluntary self-regulation, then there would have been no need for a government to step in. So first of all, this law has to be made mandatory. Secondly, the most crucial thing is, how do you sift between genuine reviews and fake reviews? That is extremely difficult. How do you really know whether a buyer is a verified purchaser or not? Only the website owner knows. So it is extremely difficult for gathering the evidence. Assuming that evidence is to be gathered, an individual consumer, as you very rightly said, he's doing a service by putting in his time and effort giving the review. Not all consumers would be eloquent enough to write a review properly. Even when a review is written, how much truth there is. Sometimes you find certain reviews with self-contradictory statements. So it's going to be extremely difficult. Only a regulator, a third party, who can get access to the records of any website platform can ascertain and carry out an audit.
I want Mr. Parulekar to respond to this. The claim that the websites will not be honest about mentioning what is fake and what is not. And I can see the logic to it. Because why would you declare something that, and when I mean you, I mean the websites, that the websites themselves are perpetrating?
Right. So Tamanna, I think we have to understand that reviews are actually guiding the customer to take the right decision, right? And a lot of times, if there is honesty in the review and the way the brand responds to the review, actually shows the maturity of the brand to respond to negative criticism. In fact, one of the philosophies that we follow within our organization is, and our customer care team is very, very clearly told that always respond to reviews, because the customer not only looks at a negative review and probably, they are very lenient to you as a brand because you're trying really hard. But what customers look for is, okay, you made a mistake. Are you admitting that mistake? Are you saying yes? And are you actually working on improving that mistake? Trust you, me, Tamanna, if I see a website where there is a home listed, and if there is an honest admission by the brand and clear, guidelines or remediation measures taken, I will love booking that place.
But that's
So that's
fine. But Mr. Parulekar, that's not the question. Brands responding to negative reviews is required, good. They should do it. It's a good business practice. We're talking about, for example, if you're talking about homes listed on your website, or the whole staycation experience. Sometimes there are pictures which make something look really good, which make the place look really good. They've been taken from certain angles. And then when you turn up, it's not that great. Maybe those pictures were taken a long time ago. Maybe the people who said it's a great place are related to the person who owns the home.
Yes, Tamanna. And
How will you ensure that doesn't happen on your site?
So firstly, I think we are not a pure platform where homeowner comes and lists his or her home. We actually, on our platform, we take full responsibility of every little piece of word, every photograph, and everything which is going on our platform. So, we stand guarantee that whatever you see is what you get. In fact, one of the complaints of our customers is that, photographers are not doing justice to your home. The experience is far different from what, we are seeing on a photograph. And, I sometimes wonder, where the reality is. Having said that, Tamanna, I think we have to recognize that I think this is a market economy. All customers are, smart today, and they have, over the last so many years of having used e-commerce websites, intuitively you look at a review and this review is a fake review or this review is actually a genuine review.
Sachin, can you tell? Can people tell what's fake and what's genuine?
I think it's probably only 5% consumers, Tamanna, who can actually tell whether it's a fake review or a genuine review. I, however, want to go back to what Mr. Jahangir said, right? And mandatory, yes, that is the way to go. But I think overnight, you cannot make things mandatory. Till you make things mandatory, I think what the way things have been defined is that, you are going to publish, let's say, if you are a brand or a seller and you have certain people who you have hired to use your product and critique and what you can call as influencers, you just have to identify them differently. Nobody is saying that you remove them, right? But you have to identify them differently. Their ratings are not going to add up into the total aggregate ratings. So as a consumer, if I am a reasonably savvy consumer, I can look at all this information and say, look, here is the user rating, here are the user photos, here is the brand pictures, here is the brand influencer rating, right? And I can then make my decision. So ultimately, what it comes down to is basically ensuring for e-commerce that it is verified purchase only, no negative reviews are suppressed. As far as your Google and Facebook go, who are also going to be, impacted quite a bit, where anybody can go and review a service or a property or a hotel or whatever, they will now have to ensure that it is done, there is traceability, and it is done by a real person. It's not done by, Jet Setter 32 or Joblo 35, but, done by K. Ganesh and Sachin Tapadia. So I think that is where, there is going to be more accountability. Will it be perfect on day one? Absolutely not.
Okay,
right?
Not perfect on day one, but K. Ganesh, you mentioned earlier how difficult it will be to implement. Why do you think so?
No, so one, obviously, in addition to all the challenges platform face, right from fake product to product not getting delivered, there are more serious issues than just fake issue. I'm not brushing this under the carpet. Fake review is a challenge. So that is a challenge. I agree with the other panelists. saying that you should make it mandatory, but it cannot be done overnight, like Sachin mentioned. I can tell you from the other side. Okay, right? As a user, when I go to Google reviews, what do I check? One, I check the recency of the reviews, because I have been had the challenge of facing this exactly what you mentioned. I went to a Stazilla recommended property, and they had said gym, and I went to the gym, it was rusted. The photo was not fake. It was the right photo of 3 years old. So one way as a consumer, what I check is the recency of the reviews. Two, like I mentioned earlier, is it only 5 reviews or it is 400 reviews? Two, that helps. Third, for example, is it a purchased user? Is it a local guide? Who is actually doing it? And when you see their names, user names, when it's not a real person, it's some picked up number, then you give lower weightage to it. Now, a consumer can understand by many of these means, will be able to see whether he can trust this review ratings or he has to give it a pass. But what's more important is directionally we are going in the right direction. Should not. I don't think anything should be made mandatory. That will kill the startup ecosystem. But we should start here. As more and more business gets done on platforms, next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, reviews will become a critical, important element. And as the number of review increases, that is when it will start having meaning, whether you call it law of average numbers. The difficulty is very simple. See, the website owner is a platform owner. Now, suppose I am the seller and I have intention to push my product. I can create fake reviews. I can ask my friends and family to be able to put reviews. I can bombard it with it. Then what can the platform owner do? Platform owner can only to the extent can say that only people who have ordered the product have a right to review. No, that means if my product has been purchased once, one review can come in. 40 reviews cannot come in against one order.
Why would you want to reduce? Why would you want to reduce the number of reviews by putting in such stringent conditions?
Jahangir? The only reason for that is that I want the consumer, as a platform owner, I want the consumer to be fully aware that there is one set of reviews and ratings given by actual purchasers. There is another set of ratings maybe given by some third party who just generally go and does audit, or local guide who likes to go and visit places.
Food bloggers or
food bloggers want to do it. Yeah. And third by neither of these two categories. See, food bloggers also is okay because they have their reputation to protect. I don't mind taking a food blogger's opinion. I mean, I have a slight feeling maybe he has got paid, he's a paid influencer, but that's okay. But still, I'll take it with a pinch of salt.
It's too much. It's too much for a consider to go through this thought
process.
No,
it is. No,
I
it is.
I want Jahangir to come into this. It's sounding exhausting.
Most important point here is look forward. What is the choice? 3 years.
Yeah, Jahangir.
So you need to have.
I just want to get your take on all of these tips for consumers, and yes, it will be very useful. But are all Indian consumers equipped to make those decisions and judgments?
Well, definitely not. A most emphatic not. Most people are not computer savvy. They just log in. Basically, what they try to see is where will they get the cheapest product. They find conflicting reviews. So they are confused. So when you are confused, you disregard the negative reviews as well as you disregard the positive reviews, and you go only by the price. So it's extremely difficult for a consumer to spend that time going through review after review after review to come to a conclusion whether which review is fake, which is not fake, how far to believe what is written, and how far to disregard it. So I don't think the consumer has the time, interest, ability, or the inclination to go into the reviews, except just maybe skim through the star ratings.
Mr. Parulekar, the question about how easy or difficult it will be to implement from the point of view of the aggregators, and again, I'm not speaking specifically about, your brand or, your story, although of course I'd like to know your insights. But to first verify that those who are reviewing are people who've actually stayed there, that these have not been purchased or bought in any way. Can you really sit down and sift through that data and verify it? Is that feasible?
So Tamanna, the way we approach this problem, and we also have this problem because any new home that gets launched obviously requires that much initial push, that much initial recognition in the mind of the customer. So the way we do it is we actually have, for our loyalty members, our club infinitum as we call it, we have special schemes if you book a new home. Now, why do we do that? Because A, they're taking a leap of faith on a completely untested new home, and we believe that these loyalty customers of ours are actually helping us shape the brand and sometimes even perfect the brand. So we love their reviews, and we actually extend discounts to begin or to give that little jump start. But as all my co-panelists have repeatedly been saying, you can fool a customer once, you can't fool them 40 times and 100 times. So there is a law of averages that kicks in. You can probably have 3 fake reviews, 5 fake reviews, but you will, and the word of mouth will kick in, the reviews will kick in, where you will start realizing that a particular home is probably getting the negative backlash. And that's the true story that we need to be worried about. So honestly, Tamanna, an operator like me is very happy that there is such a lovely debate happening on this subject, because people like us can actually stand out and put our best practices out for the world to study, scrutinize, and actually hold us accountable to, right? So we love these standards. Yeah, and that's my limited submission.
Yeah, but the fact is that there are so many websites out there, there's so many products out there. It's a
Unfortunate.
sea, it's an ocean of information. And what's fake, what's not, who will verify, even after these guidelines, is still a question mark. We'll have to see what happens from the 25th of November when this new code kicks in. In the interim, thank you so much for joining us on the discussion and for the conversation today.